Bruce and Julie's story began like many love stories do, full of hope, laughter, and dreams built on a shared struggle. Back when money was tight, they found joy in the little things: late-night walks, home-cooked meals, and simply being together. Bruce admired how grounded Julie was, how she never asked for more than he could give. But things began to change after Bruce's business took off. With success came comfort, and with comfort came expectations. Julie's focus shifted from connection to comparison, always chasing what her friends had. Scrolling endlessly through social media influencers' lives, wanting more. Bruce tried to keep up at first, thinking it was just a phase. He bought her gifts, planned weekend getaways, and even upgraded their home. But the more he gave, the less she seemed to care. Their conversations turned into complaints, and affection was replaced by cold distance. Bruce started to feel like a credit card instead of a husband. It hurt, not because he couldn't provide, but because he realized the love they once had was being replaced by something hollow. It was in those quiet, lonely moments that Bruce began to wonder, was Julie still in love with him, or only in love with the life he gave her? Bruce's financial breakthrough should have been the turning point that brought him and Julie closer, a reward for years of shared sacrifices. Instead, it drew a wedge between them. With each new milestone Bruce hit, landing a lucrative logistics contract, expanding his fleet, or closing a six-figure deal, Julie's appetite for luxury seemed to grow in tandem. She wasn't content with a warm little home they used to adore. Now she wanted a 5-bedroom estate with a marble kitchen and a walk-in closet fit for a celebrity. The couple who once celebrated with takeout on the couch now argued about designer handbags and imported countertops. Julie, once light-hearted and modest, began measuring their happiness against the curated perfection of her friends' social media feeds. If someone had a new Audi, she wanted one with a custom interior. If someone vacationed in Bali, she needed to outdo it with the Maldives. Bruce noticed the change, and not just in her spending. Her warmth was fading. The quiet giggles, the random hugs, the shared dreams, they were being replaced by passive-aggressive comments, eye rolls, and silent dinners. He tried to reach her, to express that real wealth wasn't in things, but in peace and mutual care. But Julie didn't want peace. She wanted prestige. Conversations became battles. Every no he gave turned into a "you don't love me" from her. It stung. Bruce didn't mind working hard, but he started to feel like he was fighting for a marriage alone. The woman he married had slowly been replaced by someone who saw love as transactional, measuring carats and credit limits. And as Bruce stood in the home he built, surrounded by luxury, yet drowning in emotional poverty, he began to grasp a painful truth. He was no longer her partner. He was just a provider. The first time Julie accused Bruce of cheating, he was stunned into silence. It came out of nowhere, an accusation hurled mid-argument. Her voice laced with bitterness and disbelief. He had been trying to talk to her, to reason with her about their growing distance and the unspoken tension that filled their once warm home. But instead of meeting him halfway, she deflected the conversation entirely, turning it into a blame game. "You must be seeing someone else," she snapped, her eyes narrowing. Bruce stood there, flabbergasted. He had done nothing but pour himself into their marriage, financially, emotionally, spiritually. He made time for her despite his demanding business, planned weekend getaways to reconnect, even offered to try couples therapy. But Julie wasn't interested in understanding or healing. She was interested in control. Looking back, Bruce realized her accusations weren't just unfounded. They were projection. She was spinning a web of guilt around him to cover something darker beneath the surface. At the time, he didn't suspect infidelity. He chalked it up to stress, insecurity, or perhaps even resentment over the boundaries he had started placing around their spending. But the damage was done. Her words planted doubt, not in him, but in the future of their relationship. It felt like a cold breeze had entered their home and refused to leave. Conversations became landmines. And trust, once the foundation of everything, began to crack. Bruce kept trying to piece things back together, but Julie was already retreating into secrecy. Her late-night texts, her locked phone, her suddenly guarded behavior, it all began to pile up. And though Bruce didn't know it yet, the truth was lurking just around the corner. Julie wasn't just accusing him to distract him. She was hiding something she never thought he'd discover. But secrets, like cracks in glass, only spread under pressure. The truth unveiled itself not with a dramatic confession, but through a simple, accidental moment. One of those ordinary instances that shatters everything. Julie had handed Bruce her phone to show him a meme during breakfast, a fleeting, harmless exchange. But as she laughed and turned the screen toward him, a message notification slid down from the top. Bold, flirtatious, unmistakably intimate. Time slowed. Julie's face went pale, her eyes darting in panic as she scrambled to dismiss it. But Bruce had already seen enough. Instinct took over. He gently, but firmly, took the phone from her hand as she protested, her voice growing louder, desperate, like someone trying to hide something already exposed. What he found in the messages drained every drop of warmth from his body. For months of secrets, rendezvous, and deceit. Messages dripping with lust, inside jokes, and plans made while he sat clueless at home, thinking they were working through things. It was like reading a private journal filled with betrayal. Julie begged him to stop reading, claimed it was just physical, a mistake, something that meant nothing. But Bruce wasn't looking at mistakes. He was staring at a pattern. He didn't shout. He didn't throw things. Instead, a wave of icy clarity washed over him. This wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. This was a woman who had emotionally left their marriage long ago and only stayed for the convenience. Her apologies felt rehearsed, her tears timed. Bruce saw her not as the woman he loved, but as someone who had chosen thrill over loyalty, secrecy over communication. And in that moment, standing in the kitchen where they once shared Sunday pancakes and dreams, Bruce realized that the marriage had died long before the truth arrived. The affair was just the autopsy. The burial was next. The aftermath unfolded like a slow-moving storm, loud, messy, and inevitable. Once the truth was out, Bruce didn't scream or beg. He simply told Julie to leave. At first, she looked at him like he was speaking a foreign language. Her mouth opened slightly, stunned, like she hadn't expected real consequences. But Bruce was done playing the patient, forgiving husband. He'd spent years trying to hold together a marriage that Julie had already abandoned in spirit. When she realized he wasn't bluffing, her panic set in. Tears came, not out of regret, but desperation. She clutched his arms, pleaded for a conversation, claimed she still loved him. But love, Bruce thought, didn't come with betrayal attached. She insisted the affair was meaningless, just fun. A word she repeated like it could soften the damage. But all Bruce heard was selfishness. Fun didn't erase 4 months of lies. Fun didn't comfort him during the lonely nights he spent wondering what went wrong. Fun didn't rebuild trust. As Julie sobbed and scrambled to fix what she had broken, Bruce felt the last remnants of hope drained from him. There was no future to salvage, just loose ends to tie up. Fueled by a mixture of heartbreak and clarity, he began packing her things. One item at a time. Each pair of shoes, each designer purse, each memory they no longer shared. Julie tried to fight it, but Bruce had made peace with the ending. When she finally left, defeated and crying, she promised she'd call him the next day. Bruce didn't respond. The door closed, not just on their home, but on everything they once were. And for the first time in years, Bruce didn't feel lost. He felt free. Betrayal had broken him, but it had also cleared the path to something better, a life rebuilt on truth, not illusion. Julie didn't go quietly, and Bruce hadn't expected her to. The moment the divorce papers landed in her hands, the sobbing began all over again. But Bruce didn't flinch. He had mourned this marriage long before the legal process began. While she begged for a second chance, he focused on protecting what he had left, his dignity, his peace, and the life he had built with his own 2 hands. He hired a top-tier attorney and laid out everything, from financial records to the screenshots that exposed Julie's affair in explicit, undeniable detail. Julie, naturally, tried to spin a different story, claiming they had grown apart, that they just couldn't reconcile. But Bruce had had enough of her carefully curated lies. When her family started calling, confused and concerned, Bruce told them the truth, every gritty, uncomfortable piece of it. Julie's prized possessions became symbolic battlegrounds in court. The house, the investments, the luxury SUV she paraded around town. Bruce made it clear he wasn't just letting her walk away with the best pieces of a life she helped destroy. He wasn't being vindictive. He was being just. And when the court awarded him the house, and, most painfully for Julie, her beloved Mercedes, he didn't gloat. But when she stormed toward him after the hearing, eyes blazing, calling him petty and childish, Bruce simply smiled. "You're right," he said. "This is personal." That was the final crack. Her mask slipped. Her composure crumbled. Bruce had hit the one nerve that still mattered to her, status. And in doing so, he reclaimed more than just property. He reclaimed his voice, his worth, and his ability to choose himself over a love that had turned toxic. The divorce didn't just free him legally. It was his declaration that he would never again settle for being second to someone's ego. Julie thought she could control the narrative, paint herself as the victim, and walk away with sympathy. But Bruce had no intention of letting her rewrite history. When her mother called, gentle, confused, asking why her daughter had lost the car she loved so dearly, Bruce didn't dodge the question. He told the truth. Calmly, clearly, and without venom. He explained everything, even offering screenshots as proof. The shock in her mother's voice was genuine, her apology heartfelt. That call changed everything for Bruce. If Julie had lied to her own family, who else was she deceiving? Friends? Colleagues? Mutual acquaintances? The thought festered. He hadn't just been betrayed in private. He was being quietly slandered in public. So Bruce made a choice. He posted the truth. No names, no direct identifiers, just the facts, the messages, and the reality of what had ended his marriage. Within hours, the post exploded. Reactions ranged from disbelief to support, and for the first time in a long time, Bruce felt heard. Julie called, livid, threatening legal action. He reminded her calmly that she'd have to admit in court the messages were hers. Silence followed. She never brought up suing again. Bruce didn't take joy in her humiliation. He took peace in finally defending himself. The post wasn't revenge, it was justice. Julie had tried to take everything. His money, his image, his story. But Bruce made sure the last word was his. And in doing so, he reclaimed not just his reputation, but his freedom. In today's world, where appearances often overshadow authenticity, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters in a relationship. This story is a reminder that love rooted in materialism will always crumble under pressure. If you find yourself giving endlessly while being emotionally neglected, pause and reassess. Your peace, self-respect, and emotional well-being should never be traded for temporary comfort or someone else's approval. Set clear boundaries, communicate honestly, and don't be afraid to walk away from what no longer serves you. Remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. Love should never cost you your dignity.